a graduate of University of Uyo, by a felonious, beastly, and horrible character identified as Uduak Frank Akwa. The suspect tricked the deceased to his residence under a false pretense that he was going to offer Ibom a job, but ended up abducting, raping, assaulting, and murdering her. This horrific murder is condemnable and is hereby unreservedly condemned and excoriated. The right to life, we must state, is a fundamental right guaranteed by Section 33 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. It is also guaranteed by Article 4 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, and of course Article 3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is the responsibility of every government to safeguard this right. Like most young people in Akwa Ibom, Ibom was desperate for a job to sustain her, pending call up for National Youth Service. Instead of being offered a job, she was offered death. Our killers took advantage of her vulnerability and criminally exploited her youthful determination to work and be useful to herself and the society. The alarming high unemployment rate in Akwa Ibom State. Data published by the National Bureau of Statistics shows that Akwa Ibom is among the top 5 states in Nigeria, plagued by high unemployment rates. In the second quarter of 2020, Akwa Ibom State recorded 45.2% unemployment rate and 51% in the fourth quarter. As at the third quarter of 2020, Akwa Ibom ranked second in the unemployment rate index in Nigeria. This is not only embarrassing and scandalous, it reveals the criminal neglect of the youthful and employable population of Akwa Ibom State. Mass poverty in the midst of plenty. It is pertinent to state that the problem of Akwa Ibom State has never been paucity of funds, but gross mismanagement of the humongous revenue accruing to it as the leading oil-producing state in the country. The financial profile of Akwa Ibom State between 2015 and 2020 stood as follows. 2015, Akwa Ibom received totally 243 billion 487 million 156,965 naira. In 2016, Akwa Ibom earned 197 billion 897 million 843,609 naira. In 2017, Akwa Ibom earned 247 billion 158 million 385,572 naira. Again in 2018, Akwa Ibom earned 314 billion 308 million 703,102 naira. In 2019, Akwa Ibom again earned 361 billion 632 million 433,765 naira. Just last year, 2020, Akwa Ibom earned 221 billion 329 million 981,636 naira. The total amount cumulatively received by Akwa Ibom State under the leadership of Governor Emmanuel is, that is between 2015 and 2020, is 1 trillion 585 billion 814,504,649 naira. That both these figures were published by the National Bureau of Statistics and have been corroborated by the annual report of the Accountant General of Akwa Ibom State. More revenue, more debts. The case of Akwa Ibom State. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, to further assault the sensibilities of Akwa Ibom people, a report published by the National Bureau of Statistics shows that as of December 31st, 2020, the standard debt of Akwa Ibom State rose to $47.926 million, while the domestic debt stood at $230,807 million. This placed Akwa Ibom State as the fourth, number 4, the fourth most indebted state in Nigeria. Governor Dom Emmanuel should explain to Nigeria, should explain to the world how Akwa Ibom is among the 5 richest states in Nigeria, and if at the same time among the 5 most indebted states, while standing shamefully as the second in the high unemployment index in Nigeria. Is it not? It is a tragedy, I dare say, of monumental proportion that having a seasoned banker as the chief executive of Akwa Ibom State has become a curse instead of a blessing to the people of Akwa Ibom State. And I dare ask, how did we end up in this state of endless misery? Unforgivable, misplaced priorities of Governor Dom Emmanuel. As Nigerians continue to mourn with us over the killing of a newborn Umore, history will judge us harshly if we fail to examine how our own government, either by omission or commission, contributed to our timely death. And I say this with every sense of responsibility. Indeed, it will be intellectually dishonest for us to discuss the killing of that young lady without relating it to what actually led to her death. In Ibom, as we are aware, was an orphan, a 26-year-old graduate of philosophy. She was poor and unemployed like most Akwa Ibom people. But guess what? Instead of deploying the huge resources of the state for job creation, Governor Emmanuel has ostensibly sworn to continue to waste the resources of the state of frivolities. It has been a painful harvest of misplaced priorities since this governor assumed office in 2015. Few examples will suffice. In the 2021 approved budget of the state, a whooping sum of 64.828 billion has been earmarked for the administrative or running costs for the government house, the deputy governor, the secretary to the state government, and allied officers. Whereas only a paltry 14.557 billion has been budgeted for the social sector, including health, education, youth and sport, life enhancement agency, and the likes. You will recall that in 2017, I had the privilege of leading hundreds of Akwa Ibom people into the streets of Uyo to protest what was clearly the provocative decision by the governor, contrary to wise counsel, to build a needless new governor's lodge in Lagos State. While the House of Assembly claimed that it budgeted 1.2 billion for the project, the State Commissioner for Information at the time, Mr. Charles Debo, claimed that the amount was 2 billion. The government later sided with the House of Assembly. Despite the popular rejection of that project, Governor Dom Emmanuel stubbornly went ahead and completed it. The amount used in building that lodge in Lagos could have generated employment opportunities for young people like Ibom. As part of his ungodly agenda to worsen the unemployment rate in Akwa Ibom, Governor Emmanuel decided to further waste state resources on an unconstitutional, unreasonable, an idolatrous white elephant project called Economical Center, otherwise called the State Worship Center. I say unconstitutional because Section 10 of the Nigerian Constitution expressly forbids the government of the Federation or of a state from adopting any religion as state religion. Akwa Ibom State is not a theocracy. It is not the business of a governor to prepare citizens for heaven. It is also not the duty of a governor to build a place of worship. Religious diversity is recognized under Section 10 and 38 of the Nigerian Constitution. One wonders how a governor whose own Christian denomination, where he was consecrated as a deacon, had been violently factionalized without any solution in sight, will be able to unite the many Christian denominations in Akwa Ibom State to worship God under one roof. If Governor Udom is truly embarking on evangelism, he should start by uniting his own church, which has now been factionalized and fragmented into two entities. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, in 2020, the sum of 2 billion was budgeted for design and preliminary works, while 3 billion was budgeted for building works of the so-called worship center. In the 2021 approved budget, ladies and gentlemen, 6.750 billion has been budgeted for the same project, bringing the budgetary provision for the 2 fiscal year for the said worship center to 11.75 billion naira. If this amount was deployed as interest-free loans or grants, or business grants to the teeming youths of Akwa Ibom State, at the sum of 1 million per person, at least 11,000 people in Akwa Ibom would have been empowered with 1 million naira each, which will reduce the frightening high unemployment rates in the state. When the decision to build the worship center was announced, Akwa Ibom people roundly rejected it in its attempt to diffuse public anger. You may recall that the governor declared that the project will be funded from private donations. You may also recall that he even provided a dedicated bank account for people to contribute into. Time has since exposed that declaration as a blatant lie. The project, as we know now, is being financed from the public treasury. How can a project founded on lies, rooted in deceit, and conceived by a sinful mind be a sanctuary for God and a place of worship? Again, as you may well be aware, Governor Emmanuel spends 2.5 billion annually for what he calls routine maintenance of the state's aircraft. For those who may not know, I am not talking about Ibom Air. I am referring to the private aircraft purchased by his predecessor for the governor's exclusive use. If 2.5 billion is invested annually to upgrade public schools in Akwa Ibom State, which are currently in a state of comatose, it will enrich the human capital of the state and produce more employable graduates. As we sit here today, ladies and gentlemen, Akwa Ibom State University is on strike because the governor has not paid workers of the institution. Instead of creating jobs for teeming youths, the governor has been playing religious politics in the state by blasphemously deploying God's name for his partisan and selfish interests. Every month, the governor organizes a Sham called Akwa Ibom Youth Prayer Summit through the Ministry of Youth and the Office of the SSA on Youth Matters. According to the 2019 audited report of the State Accountant General, the sum of 22,500,000 was spent in 2019 alone for this political gimmick and fake spiritual adventure. The more they pray, unfortunately for us, the worse things become in Akwa Ibom. The reason for this can easily be found in the Bible, in the book of Galatians chapter 6 verse 7, which states, "Do not be deceived, God is not mocked, for whatever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." They cannot sow corruption and reap development. In the guise of creating jobs, the governor has introduced an initiative known as Ibom 3000 Project, aimed at training youths in various fields. While this may appear commendable, it is worthy of note that only a paltry sum of 50 million naira has been budgeted for this project in the 2021 approved budget. The governor, as you are already aware, stubbornly refused to assent to the Akwa Ibom State Youth Development Fund bill, which would have created opportunities for economic empowerment of the unemployed youths in the state. So far, the state government has spent 526 million naira on reactivation of the moribund pickup pains. The company has collapsed due to corruption, while staff of the state-owned company have not been paid for 16 months. The said staff are now susceptible to scammers, to rapists, and kidnappers. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I have only highlighted few instances of how the Akwa Ibom State government under Governor Emmanuel has orchestrated the monstrous unemployment rate in the state in order to perpetually keep young people as political slaves and use them as thugs during elections. It is my submission that the best way for the Akwa Ibom State government, led by Governor Emmanuel, to honor the memory of the newborn is to immediately retrace from their diabolical pilfering and dissipation of public funds and channel resources into sensible, economically viable, and employment-generating initiatives and projects. I wish to remind Nigerians that while hunger ravages Akwa Ibom State, Governor Emmanuel built a multi-billion mansion for himself at his country home in Awa, in Onanugu government area, within the first 6 months of his assumption of office. Meanwhile, many of the few road projects undertaken by the same governor remain uncompleted, as we are all aware, for years. As if that was not enough, VKS Nigeria Construction Limited, the same company that started and completed the governor's personal edifice and mansion, within 6 months, has been awarded numerous contracts in the state. You can verify this. VKS Nigeria Construction Limited is one of the greatest beneficiaries of this administration in terms of projects and contracts. That is the same company that awarded, that completed a personal house for the governor within 6 months. My prayer is that God should rescue Akwa Ibom State from corruption and corrupt leaders who are profiting illicitly from our collective patrimony. On behalf of the students, civil servants, professionals, Okada riders, artisans, roadside sellers, market women, drivers, pensioners, the poor, hungry, and traumatized youths, and masses of Akwa Ibom State, who believe in me and what I stand for, hereby demand that the following should be done by the government. Number one, the case of Inubo Umore must be scrupulously investigated and the culprits diligently prosecuted. Although judicial workers are currently on strike due to refusal by governors, including Mr. Udobi Emmanuel, to comply with the Constitution on autonomy for the judiciary, we want to see the suspect arraigned in court when the strike action ends. Number two, a public building or institution in Uyo should be named or renamed after the late Ms. Inubo Umore to honor her memory and to also constantly remind predators that rape, assault, murder, and other forms of violence against women are intolerable in Akwa Ibom State. Number three, a domestic and sexual violence response task force should be created immediately with a specific mandate to handle cases of domestic violence against women in the state. This should be complemented by a law, dedicated phone lines for victims to call and report abuses, and a special court to try cases related thereto. Number four, the bill for a law to establish Office of the Public Defender, which is currently pending before the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, should be accelerated, passed, assented to, and given the needed resources to work efficiently. Number five, the state government should immediately come up with specific, concrete, and verifiable policies and measures to address and significantly reduce the alarming high unemployment rates in Akwa Ibom State. 6, we demand immediate stoppage of the Akwa Ibom State Worship Center project. The over 1 billion budgeted, 11 billion budgeted for this shameful project should be distributed as business grants or interest-free loans to 11,000 youths in the state through a credible selection process which should be supervised by representatives of the civil society, professional associations, the World Bank, and the state government. Number 7, the Akwa Ibom State Youth Development Fund Bill should be repassed by the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly and ascended to by the governor without further delay. Number 8, we also demand that the new Akwa Ibom State governor's lodge in Lagos, the governor of Lagos State does not have a lodge in Akwa Ibom State. Why should the governor of Akwa Ibom have a lodge in Lagos? It is only a stupid investor that will go to Lagos to discuss how to invest in Akwa Ibom. Therefore, we are saying that this lodge should either be sold outright, sell it outright, or lease or be leased immediately. And the proceeds or rent, as the case may be, should be paid into a dedicated account to be known as a Akwa Ibom State Youth Development Fund account, pending the passage of the Akwa Ibom State Youth Development Fund Bill. The money paid into the account should be used to kickstart the implementation of the state bill upon its passage. Number 9, we also demand that the governor's private aircraft should be immediately advertised tomorrow, between today and tomorrow. We want the governor's aircraft immediately advertised for sale. Immediately. We don't have the patience to wait. It should be advertised immediately for sale, and the proceeds should be used to establish cottage industries across the 31 local government areas of Akwa Ibom State. Number 10, we are also demanding that allowances of the governor and other political office holders in the state should be reduced by at least 50%. Number 11, we are demanding that the governor should sell, he should invite car dealers today and sell the cars in an extravagant convoy, and by at least 50%. If you see the car of the governor, even Queen Elizabeth does not go with that kind of convoy. I'm not sure even the American president can compete with that governor. The British Prime Minister can go with 2 vehicles. Why should the governor be going with dozens of vehicles and be disturbing people on the road? We are saying that since he said it's a deacon, he should sell 50% of those cars. He has no business. He's only inside one. What is he afraid of? Sell 50% of the cars in your convoy and reduce the running cost of the government house by 70%. The proceeds derived therefrom should be used to revive technical colleges and polytechnics in the state. Workers in Akwa Ibom State University should be paid immediately so that the school can reopen to allow students to concentrate on their studies and not be vulnerable to crimes and criminals. One thing about the Akwa Ibom State University is that that is a university that suspended a student indefinitely. Indefinitely for what? They claim he insulted the governor on social media. The same university, ladies and gentlemen, is now on strike. Not because the student did not pay them, but because the same governor is owing them. That was why Ghanaian people said that those who sow the seeds of dictatorship will be consumed by dictatorship. Number 13, we demand that the governor should forfeit 70% of his security votes, which he has never, since he became governor, governor has never for one day properly accounted for the security votes that he receives in billions. The proceeds from the security votes should be used to invest in agricultural schemes to generate jobs for Akwa Ibom people. Number 14, we say that stealing, dissipation, mismanagement, and profligate use of public funds must stop forthwith in Akwa Ibom State. Enough is enough. You cannot be stealing as if there is no tomorrow. We are saying the stealing has to end today. We don't have the patience today, come back next week. Let the stealing of government funds stop in Akwa Ibom today. Number 15, We demand an independent judicial commission on asset recovery headed by a reputable retired judge of the State High Court. It should be appointed to trace and recover all stolen government assets, funds, and properties, particularly for the period between 2007 to date. By my estimation, if this initiative is done properly, I believe it will lead to the recovery of not less than 1 trillion naira from former and serving corrupt officials of Akwa Ibom State Government. It is our belief that if the above demands are swiftly attended to, the high unemployment rate in Akwa Ibom State will drastically reduce, with a corresponding reduction in cases of rape, abduction, murder, and violent crimes. This is the best way to ensure that the newborn Omoren and other victims do not die in vain. However, if the Akwa Ibom State government continue in her nonchalant attitude to the issues we have raised and the demands we have made during this press conference, the youth of Akwa Ibom State will be led on a peaceful protest to occupy the government house and the State House of Assembly until these issues and demands are attended to. I will happily lead the protest. I'm not saying go and protest, I will join you. I will be happy to be in the front. We will therefore, this is our demand. We have done it before. We will not hesitate to do it again. There is no intimidation from any quarter, from anybody that will, or from the authority that will deter us, and we shall never be silenced. A luta continua, Victoria Cesar.